All right, so it's COE with Juan Arya. Juan, we ride again, my friend.
Yes, it's great to see you again and happy to talk.
So, just to bring folks into where we've, been in our conversation, you kind of left the old shop, came into the new shop, and gave us a sense of what you were thinking on the way in. Then you gave us a sense once you kind of had your, seat at the table a little bit more firmly mapped out. And now here's where we actually talk about COE keys to success, because now that you've been there for quite some time, how long has it been?
It's almost 4 months now. Yeah.
So we've been through a whole quarter. We've been through a third of the year,
Yes.
So it's time to talk about keys to success. And so where would you begin that conversation?
Sure. Well, so first thing is, now that you're mentioning a quarter, after a quarter, there's already an expectation that things are moving. And then you're no longer new and you're expected to deliver on something, right? So in terms of keys to success, for an operation like this, the way that I see it, and it's very similar to maybe some other topics that we've discussed in the past, but first thing to consider is your team needs to deliver. And you need to have a strong team. Maybe you don't have it, you need to build on that team. So maybe there are a couple scenarios where people might be. So one is you're building a new team. If that's the case, that's fantastic. That's probably the best case scenario because you can start fresh. Maybe you have an opportunity to hire, and that's awesome. Which is somehow similar to what I've just experienced, although maybe most of my colleagues were already hired by the time that I came in. But if you're building a team from scratch, then of course you need to really pay attention and bring in strong managers. And when I'm talking about the people, yes, of course you need to bring in good talent for every role, but especially in terms of success, I'm a big proponent to making sure that your management at all levels is strong, especially at the front line, which I think I've also mentioned in the past. But again, if you're hiring, recruiting, make sure that you have a very strong team, strong people managers. And of course, you need to very quickly make sure that they are it's called a fully functional team. So if you've read about the different stages that teams go through, you want to go through those, of course, but you want to help them and you want the team to go through that as quickly as you can. You don't want to get stuck in one of those stages and not be able to perform. So that's one scenario. The other scenario, which is also a very common scenario, is that you come in and now you're in charge of a group of people that you didn't really hire. And the first thing you need to do, in my mind, is assess where they are and how things are going. And the reason why this is important is because you want to make changes early on. And sometimes this is unfortunately what needs to happen. You need to get to that point quickly. One of the things that I've found in my experience is that a single individual that's not performing according to what's expected, or that's bringing some distortion to the team, can really bring the entire results down. So sometimes just changing one person can make all the difference in how a team performs. So again, if you're coming into a team that already exists, making sure that you assess their performance, what's going on. And of course, this might take months to do. I'm not suggesting anybody go in first week, start firing people. That's not what I'm suggesting. But you need to assess it. You need to take the time to do it adequately, but try to figure out if your team is the right one and if they're performing adequately. So similarly, as if you might be doing with a new team, you need to help them perform. And being a new leader, that's something that you can lead and help them adjust also to your leadership style. So that's probably my first point in terms of success, getting your leadership right.
Yeah, and what's interesting is we talked about culture. You mentioned obviously the affect of the team within culture, and with a soft thing like culture, I'm putting that in quotes. Obviously, you're going to turn to the people, and that's going to have a lot to do with what goes on in that conversation.
Right.
We're talking about now is keys to success, and you did not mention tools. You did not mention technology. You did mention talent. Talent is your number one. And
Yeah.
without them, you're not going anywhere.
Exactly.
So it's, it's a nice reminder that it is the people. No matter how much you want to automate, no matter how many bots you want, it's the people that are going to bring you key. Those are the first keys to success. All right, so that's
Exactly.
number one.
Yeah. So that's number one. Number two is, of course, there is an expectation that the team delivers on goals. And of course, you need to understand what those things are. And if this is, again, couple scenarios, if this is a new team, you need to secure some early wins. And you need to find a way to first understand what are the most important things that you can get done, but how easily you can get them moving. And especially with a new team, you want to build on momentum. You want to build on the team's confidence to accomplish their goals. So you don't want to give them extremely difficult tasks or goals at the very beginning. And again, especially for new teams. Otherwise, you might risk giving them too a large task to perform that will take them too long. They might get frustrated with it. And at that point, of course, you want to accomplish that, but you want them to feel that they can get things done together. So that would be, of course, one thing. If it's an existing team, of course, you need to figure out what's broken. If there's anything broken, you need to fix that. And my point with all of this is when you're running a shared service operation or a COE, you need to earn trust of your stakeholders. And you need to prove that the team delivers. You need to prove that the team is ready. You need to prove that the team has the capabilities to do what's supposed to be doing. And from this point of view, this is where you need to make sure that those things are happening. Now, the one key suggestion here, of course, is to focus. And this is really, really hard to do. And this is very difficult to do in my experience, and probably one of the greatest challenges of GMs or site leaders, because you will have a lot of pressure in different directions to get many things done. But you really want to limit the number of things that you personally are focusing on and also your team tries to accomplish. Because the end goal is to make progress. Again, very early on, make sure that you're making progress, make sure that you're accomplishing something, but not so much try to deliver on fantastic project that will be 3 years ahead. Yes, you can work on those things, but you need to focus on as few things that actually matter for your stakeholders. And again, this is not easy. From what I've seen in the past, everywhere you will have competing priorities, and there will be a number of different things that will come up that nobody has planned for. This happens everywhere. So probably you don't want to pile on project after project of ideas, because everybody has ideas and your team will have ideas, but you want to limit that. So be laser focused on key elements that will be measurable, that will be important for your stakeholders, that will prove that your team can deliver. That's the key to me.
Yeah, and it sounds like kind of number one, if you come in and you got to fix stuff, fix it. Okay, fine. And it's easy for me to say, right? But what I'm getting at is once you've done that part, it is focus on the wins. Focus as much as you can on getting the wins, no matter how small. Get the team used to winning, because once they're used to winning at least small, they can focus on winning at least a little bit bigger. And then you can build on, the amount that you are putting on them. I'm hearing you say a couple different ways. Don't put too much on them too quickly. because that house of cards can fall.
Yeah. No, exactly. I think you got it perfectly. And it's one thing, it's for your team, making sure that they feel like they've got it, but also externally, again, prove that you can do it, that things are moving, and then that gives you space. The worst case scenario for anybody is the team is not delivering, and then you're trying to fix things as you go, or you need to change your plans, or you need to stop altogether certain plans. That really is worst case scenario. So you don't want to get there.
All right. So how would you, in one phrase or one set of words, explain that second key to success? If the first one is, I'll say talent, the second one would be goals?
I would probably say focus.
Focus. Right.
Yeah, to me, it's more of focus. Yeah, you don't want to try to do too many things, but focus.
All right. And
and number 3, because I like 3 bullets usually. So my third key to success is around building capabilities. COEs and shared service operations operate under an assumption that you need to evolve over time. And maybe anybody listening to this that's been part of a shared service operation knows that we go through stages, and these stages take time. So once you have your team in order and you know that they're delivering results, the next thing that you want to make sure is that you can build, keep and sustain capabilities over time. Why this matters? Because then this is a marathon, and you need to make sure that no matter what, you'll be able to run that marathon. So it might be a set of sprints in some way, but it's more like a marathon. So you want to make sure that you have those capabilities. And maybe I can think of 3 or 4 areas where you want to do that. So first one, again, around people. You want to make sure that you can get your recruiting in order. You want to make sure that you can retain your talent, and probably align to that there's good engagement levels within your center. So first thing, everything around people, make sure that's sustainable over time. That's critical. If you can't sustain that, you start having turnover, then you can get into a really bad situation where everything else doesn't work. Probably another area is performance management, and this is where you get into having good sets of goals, good SLAs, clear metrics. And this sounds easy, but it does take a lot of effort. And anybody that's part of the industry knows that sometimes having a diverse group of metrics and teams can bring you a number of different tools into play that you don't really manage, or that you cannot easily extract information. So that becomes a big challenge. Just the data can become a big challenge. So everything around performance management and how you connect this with your front line, meaning how you make sure that you get feedback to frontline employees, so that you have a good feedback loop. So number 2, performance management. Within this section, third, I would say everything that's related to projects and process improvement. So of course you want to have something that's sustainable, that allows you to manage processes, manage change, improve processes, whatever methodology you might use. And then something where you can think about automation, that sort of thing. But probably going back to your comment earlier on, I'm putting this probably at the very end. So once you get all those other things in order, then you can start thinking, well, maybe yes, I can automate, I can do those things. But it's still a capability that you need to build, and it's still something that you want to build for the long run. You don't want to try to build it just for once, just as a project. You want to build the capability to do that. And probably the final one, which is still people related, you want to make sure that you can sustain skill set or build it, because over time the people will your team will change, your team will evolve, some people will be promoted, you might lose a few members, The work that you do will evolve as well. And you don't want to stay static. So you want to make sure that you also have a sustainable mechanism, either to train people or upskill them or recruit differently. But you want to keep your skill set alive all the time to whatever you need to accomplish.
Yeah, that's the future proofing part, right? Hear
Exactly.
about future proofing, and that seems to be what that is. And right there, you've kind of given us a nice basket. This last one being capabilities. Make sure that people can do it. Make sure that you can measure it. Make sure that you've got the tools and everything that you need to make sure that you're set for success now and then into the future. Hence the future proofing. So it's very simple.
Exactly.
The way that you line it up here, Juan, way too simple. I don't know.
Yes, that's. I can only think simple. I'm sorry.
Well, that's it, isn't it? If you're too complex in the way that you put things together, there's no way that anything's going to be able to get done. So
that's
simplifying it down and using your second point, focus, making sure that you remain focused so that you can just succeed.
Right. But again, try to not only focus, but get your priorities in order and start with the basics and then get more sophisticated as you move along.
There we go. Thank you very much for your time as always, Juan. This is always a pleasure. Really appreciate it. And I guess we'll check in with you down the line.
Yeah, no, Seth, it's always a pleasure talking to you, and thank you so much.